Hello, and welcome to Heartfelt Consciousness with My Vinyasa Practice. My name's Michelle Young, and today I'll be interviewing our new studio manager, Kiana Ochoa. Kiana Ochoa came to us from Black Swan, Denver, where she opened 2 locations during a pandemic. Kiana is excited to join the My Vinyasa Practice team and is here today to talk to us a little bit about taking our yoga off the mat and really what that looks like in relation to our personal and professional experience. Let's welcome Kiana. Hi, and thanks for joining us today. My name is Michelle Young, and this is Heartfelt Consciousness, My Vinyasa Practices podcast. And I'm here today with Kiana Ochoa. She is our new studio manager, and we have the privilege of interviewing her and giving everyone an opportunity to get to know her. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the topic of our conversation today is yoga. What brought you to yoga, and what has really inspired you to teach?
I love this question. I was an athlete growing up, so I have always had a movement practice in some form. I was a gymnast when I was really young, and then I went into playing select volleyball, and then I also ran track in school. And it really took a toll on my body. I'd say that. I still struggle with the injuries from that whole experience growing up from the age of 3 all the way to when did I stop playing sports? I'd say 16, 17. And I found yoga in my early teen years as a way to complement my athletic pursuits, but also to support my injured body, my injured system from all of that. So I first started in the physical practice, like handstands, chaturangas, all these fun transitions and things that can strengthen my body, but it didn't take me too long to realize it's not a physical practice. It's a doorway and a tool to move inward, and I think that was such a profound moment and experience for me to realize yoga is so much more than the physical. And the physical is just one piece of the totality of this practice. So I started pretty young. I was drawn to it physically, and then things led to allowing me to hold space for myself and to feel and to breathe and to move. And in that came so much magic, I think, and greater understanding for what am I doing here, right? And how I can heal my system from all the things that I struggled with before about not understanding space holding or how to breathe in a way that can relieve tension in the body and the mind too. So I started young, and that was my first step into the practice of yoga. And I'd say maybe 5-6 years into it, I got a call from my Aunt Ambrosia, rest in power. She called me up and said, "Hey, do you want to do this 200-hour yoga teacher training with me?" And it was in Dallas, Texas, with my teacher Shannon Buffington and Charlie Faulkner. And it was a 9-month-long teacher training. But she called me up and she was like, "You want to do this?" I'm like, "Learn how to be a yoga teacher? I don't know. I just love this practice." And she's like, "Well, you'll learn how to be a yoga teacher, but you'll also learn all the whys behind why we do this and why it feels so good and the things that happen in the system behind the scenes, right? Deeper." So I took this teacher training, and I realized, wow, I want to share this with other people. So that was my introduction. She helped guide my, I think, trajectory into the world of teaching yoga and sharing this practice. But that's that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It's so great when we have the opportunity to come to yoga at a younger age, because it really does give us the tools that we need to learn healthy coping strategies and, self-soothing. So I think that's great. It's just awesome that you had that opportunity.
Thanks so
How does yoga fit into your professional endeavors? You're now managing the studio. We're about to open a second location. I know you came from Denver. You opened the Black Swan Denver location, 2 of them, yes?
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about when you decided to integrate your yoga practice into your professional life.
So I started teaching. I'll backtrack a little bit. I started teaching first to my friends, my community, my family members, and then I started working into teaching in group settings like yoga studios and gyms and YMCA's. And I really found, I think, a family at BSY. That was something I loved, that donation-based method too. Um, and I was starting to pay more attention. Like I always love to tidy the spaces that I'm in and go above and beyond to like make sure that I leave the space better than I found it. And I think I had the opportunity when I moved to Denver. I was going to just be a teacher on the team and also support social media management and teacher training. And I think the divine always has a bigger plan, right? And things led to another. And mentor and friend Maddie Chen, she was always a support for me, and she gave me the opportunity to manage one of the studio locations. And we were planning on opening up Studio One months in advance, but with COVID and permitting and all the things that come with opening up a business, it was way later than that. So I ended up, we decided as a group that we might open up Studio Two or plan on getting Studio Two ready if it's going to take a year and a half, 2 years to open it up. Yeah. So we started working on Studio Two. Then we realized, oh wow, Studio Two is going to be done before Studio One is even finished. And so we ended up opening Studio Two, and I stepped into managing that one. And then a month later, we opened up Studio One. So we had two studios open within a month of one another, and they were 15 minutes apart. And my goal there was really just to ground down the community, stay with the mission of the business, and bringing yoga to life. And I think that donation-based method, they didn't have anything like that in Denver at the time. There was a studio collective that fell out during COVID, and we really came in over time to offer this donation-based method to the population there. And they loved it. And I think it was so inspiring for me to step into that space because I didn't know anybody. I really came from Austin. This is my home base. I had no idea what was happening there. Like I was just so open and receptive to the people there, the community, the teachers who were on board and also believed in the mission. I think that's so important too as a team, is having people who really value and believe and are like-minded to what you're offering in the space and the collective, because in that everybody rises and comes together to make the things possible. So I taught, I managed, I kept the spaces clean, and I also, I think a big thing with management leadership, especially in the yoga spaces, is practicing on and off the mat. And for me, it was bringing in the first two limbs of the Ashtanga yoga system, the 8-limb path, which is the yamas and niyamas. Mm-hmm. And those are so profound for me because it really does allow you to apply yoga in all ways. Mm-hmm. On the mat, of course, but taking that off the mat into leadership, like non-harm and cleanliness, mm-hmm. and why am I blanking right now? All of those things.
Yeah, violence, right?
Non-violence. Yeah. I think that one is such a big one for me too, because ahimsa is also this way of social justice, of mm-hmm. standing for and fighting for non-violence, mm-hmm. for all people. Yeah. So when we can lead in a way that really allows yoga to shine forth and be the forefront, then you're living and walking a path.
Right. I love that. And that actually leads into the next question, but I'll pause here for a second because I think this is so important. And one of the things that we talk about in our 200-hour YTT is, that we are taught as a society to apply these concepts outside of ourselves, but we're not really taught how to apply them inside. Like how do I, create compassion in my life rather than harm to myself, right? How do I, stand in my truth, right, without just following projection or like following whatever I think that I'm supposed to do, the shoulds in life, right? And I think that discernment and really identifying how to leverage the power of discernment as it relates to the yamas and niyamas are one of the ways that we awaken to our natural enlightened state. Like that is the precursor to all of it. Asana, pranayama, pratyahara, these things just sort of like, help us to focus the mind and mm-hmm. focus the nervous system and regulate the energy. But these things, the yamas and niyamas, are so important. So that leads me to my next question is, how do you encourage your teachers and also yourself to practice off the mat. Like, what does it look like to maintain your practice and still be in a yoga business?
I think, I mean, in the yoga studio, that's something that you can kind of see if you're leading by example. So, like Saucha, keeping the internal and external environment clean and just walking around. If you see something that needs to be organized or tidying, without question, go and do it. And even if you, as the leader in the community or in the space, are just leading by example, other people will start to pick up on that. And that's I think one example that is important for me, and I always like to integrate in is like if you see something, clean it, tidy it, do it, and it'll make you feel good too because this is a space that you are in, and you get to do this, you get to share the practice, and you get to have people come and share their time with you, and all those little things like keeping the space clean and lively and bright. It really does make a difference for how it impacts your students, and then that reciprocate, what is the word,
Reciprocal?
reciprocal,
Yes.
bringing that back in, it's just that full circle,
Yeah.
student and teacher and so on.
Yeah. No, I think it's really important, and it also helps us to like be present.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things when I was a practitioner, I was always in awe of like how yoga teachers would float in and just hold that space in such a graceful way. And what I found in my own personal practice, both before I became a teacher and then after, was presence was so important. Being truly applying mindfulness, which is observation without judgment. Like, I can say, oh, there's a towel on the floor, I'm going to pick it up. I'm not going to judge that there's a towel on the floor, right? Just pick it up, just be done with it. So I think that's really, it's poignant because it's so simple and so profound too at the same time.
Yes.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit more about your teachers. You mentioned a couple of teachers earlier.
Yes.
Who are your most influential teachers and
There,
why?
there are a few. I'd say my first 200-hour teacher training was through the Para Yoga lineage from Rod Stryker,
Okay.
and he's based out of Colorado. But one of his students, who was my teacher, Shannon, she was so tapped into tantra and the hatha based style of practice, and I came in like an athlete. I'm like, I want to get the handstands, I want to do all these things, and she was like, that's not the point of the practice. So she really like helped me pause, zoom out, and then like dive into the truth of the matter and what it is and why the asana practice is here to support us on our inward journey.
Yeah.
So shout out to Shannon and Charlie. They are such talented and skillful teachers. And then I took a 300-hour training a few years later with Shanti Kelly and Kylie Walters, and they are also so fantastic, and they really helped me refine my skills and I think focus on what it is that I want to do as a teacher and how I want to share my offerings. So them amazing. And then last teacher I want to share with you is, have you heard of Susanna Barkataki?
Mm-mm.
So she wrote the book Embrace Yoga's Roots, and her whole mission is really just diving into the ways that you can apply yoga and the 8 limbs and other practices besides asana onto the mat and into your teachings and off of your mat. And so I love her for that. I read that book. I took one of her online teacher trainings a couple of years ago, and that just really opened my eyes into vichara, or is it self-discerned, but more like critical thinking. So in the way of like applying the yamas and niyamas internally and taking that internal knowledge with you in your life.
Yeah.
So Shannon and Shanti, as well as Susanna Barkataki.
Yes, I have to, so we share that teacher. So Shanti is my teacher, and Kylie is just a dear personal friend. I haven't seen her in a long
She's
time, but she's
fantastic.
wonderful. And yeah, definitely amazing teachers, and just being steeped in lineage that is so rich, I think is really important, especially when you are holding space not only for students but also for other teachers, because ultimately what we're wanting to do, or at least I think what MVP is trying to do, is to take the practice and share it like through the lens of Patanjali and yoga. Like not what is my opinion or my perception of things, but like what does the sutra say? What does the history and the lineage say?
Mhm.
And then, from there, recognizing that my lived experience is not universal truth. And so once I get that and I really broaden my awareness to that, then I have so much more compassion for everyone else's lived experience. And I can recognize that, it really is a journey towards involution when we see it that way. It's like
Mhm.
it's not evolution because it's so external. It's more involution. It's coming home to yourself and really devoting that
I
self-love.
love that. That was
Yeah.
worded so beautifully.
Well, again, we have the same lineage, so it goes well, right?
Mhm.
So tell me a little bit about what your plans are as you move forward in your professional career with yoga, but I know you have some other interests as well. So what is your aspiration? Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
So I really love what MVP is all about: authentic, affordable, and accessible yoga, and really coming back to the roots of the practice. So my plan within MVP is to really grow and love and nurture both of the studio locations and our team and our community in town. That's something I really love to do, and it fills me up. People are so incredible, and our time is like that non-renewable resource. So if they give us their time, and even if it's for 30 minutes, an hour, a quick call or something, it means so much to me. Because I'm like, that's your time, and you're making that time to come into this space and be with us and listen and allow us to share offerings with you. So that's something that I love and I will continue to do with MVP, as well as like getting our events going in town. I love to connect with other businesses that align with our mission and values too, about bringing community together. So connecting with businesses, uh, either hosting events at those businesses or bringing them into the studios and so on, and just really building and growing the MVP name within Austin.
Yeah.
So that's my thing. And then also, I am an artist. I have always been like more creatively drawn. I was working first on like drawing using pens and paper, but then I started playing with paint,
Oh,
acrylic paint
cool.
and canvas. And there's something about getting your hands dirty that really is so soothing and
Yeah.
healing. And there's no boundaries there. You can get messy, you can get dirty, and that's part of the experience to
Yeah.
kind of let go and yeah, just get it on your hands and
Yeah.
maybe on your clothes. So who knows? And then a couple of years ago, I started tapping into the world of digital art
Mhm.
and using an iPad and an Apple Pencil to make things happen on the computer, on an iPad. And that whole world is limitless too. And I'm
Mhm.
still learning how to like, where's my niche and where's my style in that. But I like to do like trippy, spacey, psychedelic art that kind of makes you think and be curious and kind of ponder like, what is that? How does that make me feel? Where are we going with this? So that's my thing. I think I want to get more into honing in on my direction with my art. And I have an art shop online
Oh, that's cool.
where I have my recent collection. I've put it on like apparel pieces. So that's something that I think I want to continue to run with too, and see and get feedback from people if they like my art on a sweater or on a sticker, on a pin or
I
something.
love it. I love it. That's so cool. And I think connecting to that creative aspect of being human is really important. And it teaches us how to trust ourselves. How to lean into the process of creating.
Yes.
So I think that's really cool, and I'm excited to have you do some decorating down south when we open down south. That's going to
I'm
be a lot
working
of
on
fun.
some apparel too and some swag for
I
MVP.
know. I'm very excited about that, actually. That's going to be a lot of fun. Well, I guess the last question I have for you today is tell us a little bit about your daily routine. How do you keep your physical, intellectual, emotional, and spiritual body healthy?
Good question. I feel like getting enough sleep for me is always important. I am somebody who likes to stay up late. And I think that's part of that creative energy, that Vata time, what
Mm-hmm.
after 10 p.m., when you start getting downloads and you're like, I just have to make this or draw this or create that. So going to bed early for me has always been a challenge. I would say I'm more of a night owl.
Mm-hmm.
So making sure I get sleep, uh, and then getting up. And I always like to, before I check phone or before I roll out of bed, I usually have my cats with me and I'll roll over, give him a kiss and hug. My boyfriend's probably already out of bed doing his work, and just take a moment to be grateful. Like I got to wake up today.
Yeah.
I have breath in my lungs. And that simple, quick gratitude practice really helps to set the tone for the rest of my day. Drinking water, I feel like I need to hold myself more accountable. Hold on.
I think that's the hardest thing for all yogis to do is drink enough water.
I'm telling you. So trying to drink some water in the morning is what I like to do. And then my whole like cleanliness routine, brush my teeth, taking care of face, get myself ready, presentable. And then I either try in the car, I'll put on like a podcast while I'm driving to work and just continue that intellectual fuel and filling up my cup in my brain, and learning things about how I can be a better, whether it is a business entrepreneur and leader and manager, like all these things, a yoga teacher, and like there's a yoga teacher podcast that I like to listen to as well. But things like that for my brain, and then making sure I get a practice in. And if it is taking studio classes, which our teachers at MVP are fantastic, I've been having such an incredible time taking classes here. I just took Katie's class today, and it was amazing.
Yeah, she's amazing.
I know, I'm like, I love the flow, I love her theme. It was something about presence too, and I'm like, exactly, we need more of that. So with my practice, it's either I'm taking a studio class or I have 5-10 minutes with my legs up the wall. And I'll do that at least once a day, whether it be in the studio at home, just to elevate after sitting all day. And then make sure that I'm having the work-life balance. So when I'm working and I'm doing it. And when I'm not at work, I'm establishing those boundaries to make sure that I'm recharging and taking care of myself so that I can better show up for when I am on the clock, when I am working and serving my students and my teachers and the community.
That is so important. The work-life balance is really important.
It really is.
Yeah, I think that a lot of us in the community are like recovering perfectionists, and so we feel like we have to go all the time, but it's not really necessary. So, I just want to acknowledge you for taking the time to, carve out, a self-awareness around your boundaries. Like that's really important for sure. Well, Kiana, it is so great to have you. It's great to have you here with us as part of our MVP team. I'm just thrilled to have your energy in the studio and to see how things just blossom and grow with events and with special offerings. And as you mentioned earlier, our teachers, we have such a diverse group of teachers. I think you took Kyler's class the other day, and we've actually had people like international students come in and say it's the best class they've ever taken in their life. And we all have our different styles. I really love my teacher's style, but everybody has something amazing to offer. And one of the things that we are very passionate about here is giving teachers the autonomy to express their style, within the confines of holding space professionally and appropriately. So I'm super excited to see how everybody grows and develops under your tutelage. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Michelle.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all for joining us. Again, Kiana is here at MVP. We are open for classes at our Highland location, and we will be opening soon, probably around May, June, in our new location down in South Austin on South Congress and Slaughter. We look forward to seeing you in studio or online on the app. And thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. For more information about Kiana's art, check out her Instagram at Kiana Ochoa _. And to take a class with Kiana, drop by the studio. Be our guest. We can't wait to see you there.